What's up, and welcome to the Yoked Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I am your host, Travis Hall, and I'm super excited about this episode. We have an amazing guest, a couple named Jon and Jess Davis, and we talk all about faith and family and starting a church and their entrepreneurship journey into real estate as well. And so it's a great episode. I know you will enjoy it and get a lot out of it. However, I just wanted to come on here and say that if you are on YouTube, it is only a video of them. We had some technical difficulties apparently, and one of the cameras died halfway through. So for this episode, it is just them, and the audio is great. So otherwise, you should be good to go. So enjoy the episode, and we will see you next week. What's up, and welcome to the Yoked Podcast. We are excited. This is episode 3 of a series that we're doing, and we have some amazing friends that are here with us. We have 4 of us in the studio. This series we're doing is all about bold moves and kind of taking those leap of faith, actions where you step out and do something big. And these guys have done that multiple times. And so we're going to talk about a couple things they're doing. So first, let me introduce you. So we have Jon and Jess Davis. Hello. They are the lead pastors of One City Church here in Denver. Mm-hmm. So I used to work with these guys specifically, right. Jess, for 8 years? A long time.
A long time.
At Red Rocks. And then you guys left and you launched your own thing.
That's right.
And so you've been doing that. You're coming up on your 5-year mark.
Yep.
Which is incredible. You can talk about the stats of church planting and what that looks like. But 5 years, you got 3 kids. Mm-hmm. You love all things boating, tacos, coffee. We share that love.
Yes.
And recently flipping houses.
That's right.
Which is super cool. So you do a lot of things. This conversation, we're going to talk specifically around all of it, but we're going to talk specifically around launching a new church and like stepping out. Because Jon, you were working full time outside of ministry, and you were working full time ministry, and you guys did this. So, what did I miss in your bio that I should? That is,
I mean, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good cover.
Married 16 years.
16 years.
Wow. Awesome.
We did. Yeah. Got married when we were 18, JK.
I love it.
Yeah, we're coming up on 16.
16 years.
This June.
Yeah. 27th.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we moved from Denver to like the DU area to Old Town Littleton.
Right down the street.
Yeah, from right here. Yeah.
We love it.
So,
I love it.
Yeah. It's
all
great.
Right, cool. Well, let's start in.
Yeah.
So we just want to kind of hear about your journey a little bit.
Yeah.
So, we gave that introduction, but just how, in your own words, tell us what got you to right now, like this journey of the church and launching and all this stuff.
Start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jesse and I, we met at church more than 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So
we met
20 years ago. Yeah.
So for those of you who are familiar with Red Rocks Church, we met when Red Rocks Church was a church plant. So I was there the first day. Jon was there like 3 months later. So
Shout
we were
out
there
Heritage Square.
Yeah, Heritage Square.
Oh my gosh.
It was like 30 people, I think, when we started. It was wild.
It was tiny.
It was small.
It was tiny.
What was your role?
Or like early
Full-time
on?
volunteer. Yeah.
I mean, I started
No, not your role now.
Yeah,
your role back then.
I started working for them, and I think that was like 2007, and I was an admin for them. So
that's right.
Which was I think they'd be cool if I said, but it was kind of a catch-all for like, you mop up pee and you set up chairs and you order coffee stuff and you're going to order baptisms and fill up the tubs and
you just administrate. Everything.
just everything else. So I used to joke that it was like everything else, but
so we met on worship team and we were there for a long time. You ended up being on staff or running a young adult program for 10 years. Yep. And in about, I think it was 2018, we both started to hear from God that something new was coming. A chapter was going to be closed and a new chapter was going to be open. And I was in the private sector. I had ran a little small IT business, and we were a 2-for-1 at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
So
a twofer.
Yeah.
It was.
So she worked there and I volunteered all the time. And we loved it. It was amazing. That's where we cut teeth in ministry.
Yeah. It was really good.
We grew a lot in ministry during that season. So 2018 rolls around, beginning of that year, God started speaking to us. And he started saying to Jesse and I that we were going to do this together. Yeah. that we were going to pastor in some form or fashion together. And that was kind of eye-opening to us, because I was happy in the private sector. I enjoyed what I was doing. But man, it was like January 2018. He really began to speak to us. So then we discerned a lot that whole year. Was it at Red Rocks? Was it in para-ministry, a ministry that would support church? Or is it starting our own church? And that took the entire year.
Yeah. And we would have times where like God spoke to like both of us at the same time, which for married couples, you guys probably know, like that's rare, right? Like where God's like, boom, and he says the exact same thing to both of you. So there was one night even where I think one of the worship pastors put together just a prayer night, and it was off the books. It was just come and pray. And we both came. I was on one side of the room, Jon was on the other, and God told me very clearly, he was like, take off your shoes. And God said to Jon, like we weren't next to each other. He was like on the other side. And God said to Jon, like, take off your shoes. And God was like, you're on holy ground.
Yeah.
And like, if you're going to serve me, you need to honor me. And so God just downloaded stuff to the both of us the whole year. He told me that Jon was going to be a pastor. God told, like, it was the same day, same time. It was at a staff chapel. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That is
and
wild.
So God was like, God just told Jon the word pastor. And I was like in worship. Jon was drumming. I was in worship, and I just felt this overwhelming sense, like, why is Jon not a pastor? It was like overwhelming. And I was like, did God talk to you? And he was like, yeah. So it was that January that God did that. And then the rest of the year was just, and it was tough, right? Because I mean, not to like, get ahead of like maybe where you guys are thinking about or wanting to chat, but like it was tough for us because we like loved where we were. And like I loved the ministry I ran. And I ran like at the time it was like anywhere between 800 and 1,200 young adults, like on a Thursday night, and huge platform. And I was starting to like write a book with a company, and like, I don't know, just like all the things that you could want, I guess, in ministry. And then we both just felt like, this pull, right? And so it was like, what are we doing? And we had met at Red Rocks. We had gotten married there. We had 2 of our 3 children there. All of our friends worked there. Like our entire life was there. So it was just kind of like, and it came to like December.
That was scary.
It was very frightening. It came to December of that year. And we just kind of I almost felt like I had like overstayed the season that I was in. And like, I'm prolonging this, and I don't know that we should be staying. And I remember we got dinner with some other pastor friends, and they said that they were like, it was our friends up north, and they were like,
oh yeah,
when they left their church, they left a big old church in Australia to plant a church in Fort Collins. As they told their story, I was like, oh, that sounds like our story. And so it was December, and I was like, I think it's time for us to go. And so we started looking online, and we
were both in agreement.
Yeah.
At that point, it really was about December of that year. We both felt like our next step, our next chapter is that we leave. Yeah. And we're hearing generally, from God that it's a church. And but finally it was like, actually we need to leave. And it's time. Like Jess shared, she felt like we had overstayed not our welcome, but that like God was waiting on us to say yes to the next step, the next move. Yeah, at that point.
Yeah.
And that was our word for 2019, for me at least, was obedience. Every time I talked about it, I was like, this is an act of obedience. This is a step of obedience.
Yeah.
But
so
we said, yes, we're leaving.
Yeah. So we felt like, and I was like, you know what, I'll just go get a job. I had a really good friend. Her name is Rebecca. She was a executive pastor at another church here in Colorado. And I was like, I'll just go work for them for a season while we figure out what we're going to do, So it's one night, I'm like on their website. They are always hiring people like admins and kids ministry workers. And I was like, I'll just get a job there while we figure, Jon will keep his job while we figure out what we're going to do next. So I'm online, and they have like a church planning residency, and they're like statement of faith matches our faith everything matches. And we were just kind of like, the way they view women in ministry. And I just was like, oh my gosh. And I showed Jon the program, and we weren't 100% sure that we were going to plant a church, but we felt like this would be a good investigatory like next step. And so we applied. And at that point, it just happened super fast. Like they interviewed us. I think it was like 2 weeks later.
Not even that. Well, we interviewed 2 days after applying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said that night, they're like, we want to offer you this residency.
Yeah.
Come to find out, they never do that.
No, they interview people like 50 times. They go through
like a 3-month process.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
And they have you interview with every single person there, it feels like.
Yeah.
And they just were like, we believe God has your next step in mind, and we want to be a part of that with you. And he's commanded us to bring you in.
Yeah.
And we were like,
yeah, wow. It was wild.
Okay. So the moment we took a step of faith, said yes, out of obedience, this door opened.
That's such a good point. That's right.
This door opened. And honestly, it was very helpful for me because I had served at a church for decades, but I had never been behind the scenes. I had never experienced the ministry ins and outs.
Yes.
And so it was a wonderful opportunity for me to like get just thrown into the deep end right away and kind of learn.
It was great.
And learn together, be together in that.
Yeah. And with some good like bumper rails.
Oh, totally.
100%. We told them that in the interview. We're like, look, we're not 100% sure this is the next step, but we know.
I think that was like our strongest inclination. We were leaning towards it's going to probably be a church, but man, this is happening so quick. We're still in this discerning phase.
Totally.
That it could be something else. We're not 100% sure, but and they left it very open-ended for us. They gave us 4 months to discern. Are you planting a church? Are you not? And if not, that's okay. I mean, it was a huge blessing. That was a wonderful opportunity to just have like a covering to help us discern our next step. And within that 4-month period, we did come to the realization that, we're going to start a church.
Yeah. So we,
officially come to that discernment.
It was kind of the end of 2019 that we were like, okay, like it's go time. We think that the Lord, this is what is next, and we're going to plant a church. And we both feel really called to like people that don't know God. Well, in Denver's like one of the most unchurched cities in America. I think it's like number 16 or something like that. So we were like, we looked at other places. We looked at like Reno, Nevada. We looked at, where else did we look? Oh, Phoenix, Arizona.
I think we looked at all the places we would have liked to live. So.
Yeah.
That's where I would look too.
Yeah.
Amen.
Florida,
Phoenix. I don't know if we looked at Florida, did we?
Maybe.
Anyway. But anyway, it ended
Wichita.
Yeah, right? That's right.
No.
Oh my gosh. Could you honestly bless the plants that happened in Wichita. But yeah, so it was good. I think when we finally discerned, it was kind of like, it's go time. And I think that Jon and I are, we're both like you guys, like builders, entrepreneurs. Like we love breaking new ground. When we were at Cherry Hills, we took a spiritual inventory test, and a spiritual gifts test, and I'd never taken one. Yeah. I don't know that you had either. Maybe you had. And
maybe. It had been a minute.
My top one was apostolic, and I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what does that mean? And they were like, oh, well, you break new ground. Like you build new things. Like when an apostle would go into a city, they'd plant a new church. And I was like, oh my God, my whole life made sense to me. Cool. Like I was like, oh, that's why I'm so uncomfortable when something's already built and can't wait to build something new. I really struggled when young adults got to a point where it was built and then it was in maintenance mode. I struggled. We relate most in our life with people like you guys, with our friends that are business owners, with other lead pastors that have planted churches. We will relate most with them because the burden, the challenges are just so similar. Like even to our, with you guys, but then even our buddies that like own a business, like I feel like we can relate about so many things because
well, you get all the people issues and staff and money. Those are all real.
It's all,
It is a church, but it is still a business that you have to operate and keep the lights on.
It has a budget.
You pay bills.
Yeah. And it's been, I think stepping out is huge. I think there's like a lot of faith that happens when you step out, but then I think it's almost like the faith that you have thereafter is almost even more important. Because I think a lot of us, right? Like the beginning is sexy.
And it's exciting.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
When you go to do something new, you're like, yeah, let's go, and in your mind's eye, you're like, this is going to be perfect. And
you have an idealistic,
everybody and their mom's going to come.
You have an idealistic outcome already built in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's going to be like this. We're going to do it this way. We're going to do all these things different. And then everyone's going to come and it's going to be the most successful thing.
That's right.
And as any entrepreneur knows, or anyone who's breaking new ground, you have a harsh, like, confrontation with reality at some point, and then it's how do you handle that? Do you move forward? Do you give up? Yeah.
That's when the faith really,
it matters more.
Tested more because I mean, you're in the trench and you're like, okay, I was called to do this and you were obedient and you did it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's not easy. 6 months later. And it's like, wait.
Oh, for sure.
That? You gotta like remember back and like, okay, obedience.
Yes.
Obedience. Exactly.
Right. Oh, for real. If God was like, hey, this is gonna suck. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be like, let's just go. Can I go work at H&R Block? Like real. Like you're like, just whatever's consistent.
Right.
I think
that sounds terrible to me.
Well, yeah, that doesn't sound fun. My bad. I'm so sorry. Right? Yeah. We probably should have thought of another job.
TurboTax. You meant turbo. Bad. That's better.
Oh my gosh, so funny. But yeah, I mean, even, Jon and I, for the people listening, like when we started the church, like I think it was January of that year. It was October of 2019. We opened up bank accounts. We had our 501c3. We named our church. We started forming a board. We started fundraising. February of 2020, we had our first interest night. We had our first interest night. We were like, let's go.
We had a location.
Oh my gosh, the location was so legit.
The location was amazing. It was a wedding venue. It was right off of Evans in Santa Fe. It was $300 a Sunday.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Does not exist.
That doesn't exist.
And they were so chill with us.
And
they were like,
the gal who oversaw it, was a Christ follower. So we felt like there was, a person of peace at this location. That's right. And everything was dialed in, lined up, had our first interest night, not far from there. Was it Spark Coffee?
Yep.
And it was so fun.
Our first
bingo night.
Yeah, it was great.
You're riding high.
2 weeks later.
It was 2 weeks.
COVID.
2 weeks later, the whole world shut down. And we were like...
We laugh now.
No more location.
We were like, this is crazy.
Everything is,
I mean, it was so hard. Like
bizarre.
Everything we were doing, I remembered even getting asked. They were like, whoa, people would be like, are you going to have an online church? And I was like, we're not going to do that for 2 years, 3 years, because we're going to have people.
That seemed like a luxury.
It seemed like a luxury.
Yeah,
that's right.
To have that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And so it was like, let's not worry about that right now. And then, oh my gosh, it was we were rapidly I think we got the last Resi, which is an online streaming platform. They're here locally in Colorado, but every single church in America was buying these online streaming platforms because everybody needed them instantaneously. We got the last one, I think, in Colorado. And and it was just quick. It was oh my gosh. And then we're launching our teams online. So we were we'd get, 60 people on Zoom and we'd be training them in our leadership values. It was just the whole time you're like, what are we doing? And then, cause we're thinking, well, it's going to last 2 weeks and then it's 2 months. And then, and then it gets to June and we're looking for a place to launch. We realized we can't launch out of our original place, like Jon said, because it was a wedding venue and they shut down during COVID.
Yeah.
And so then we had to find a new location. And I remembered having a conversation with our team, and it was Dylan Storm particularly, but that I remembered kind of answered back. But we talked to our team and we were like, do we do this? Do we go?
Because if you guys aren't in and don't want
if you're not in, we can't be in, you know what I mean? If the team doesn't want to go, we can't go. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it was Dylan and Hannah Miller. And at the time, I don't think she was married. It was Hannah Harder. And they were like, let's go, man.
The whole team was
the whole team was let's go.
And that really started a culture thing for us where we go when it's most dark.
Yeah.
When it's most needed.
Yep.
That's kind of our trait, or I guess our personality.
Yeah. We said when everybody was running out of the city, we were running in. And
we forgot to mention too, which was probably the greatest blessing of that year. We were pregnant too.
Oh, that's right.
It was number 3. It's
we had Huey.
That's crazy.
So we just said, we're gonna do it all. We're gonna do it all. We're gonna do it all. We've met with mentors and stuff to be like, should we postpone or anything like that? And they're like, no.
Just do it, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just thrown.
I want to go back real quick because
yeah.
Like to the beginning, a lot of people in bold decisions, like there's something wrong maybe, or like if it's a W-2, they're like, oh man, I can't wait to get out of this. And yours was not that. It was,
no.
And which is cool that God planted this idea for both of you.
Yeah.
And then just watered it for a year.
Yeah.
And you knew like, it wasn't like we need something else. We're missing something. It was, it's just time for the next thing.
Yeah.
And it's different, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's how it transitioned for
you.
you.
It did feel like something was off like that whole year, like to be living kind of like your dream, like ministry scenario, and to feel like, why am I so uncomfortable? It was like, like a holy discomfort. Like I just was like,
I love that.
I couldn't figure it out. And we would like meet with people and it never left. A year of that, and it never went away.
We would meet with like mentors and coaches and things like
Jon
that.
Jon had an amazing mentor at the time, and he was like, walked us through it. I was so grateful for him during that season.
Yeah. Jeff Spatafora.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he's a good dude.
I think that, I mean, if you're built like Jon and I, and I know this of us, like what you guys said is like that entrepreneurial spirit, like it's a restlessness. I don't think it's a bad thing. God made us that way. Like, and so, like I said, with what we were doing prior was like built and it was beautiful and lovely, but, I remember listening to a guy talk about the leadership's transitions, and he likened it to the life of David. And he said, those early years are the years where he called them the lover years, where like David's falling in love with God and he's singing to him and he's in the wilderness with him. After that are the warrior years. And it's the years where you're taking ground for God and you're like building new things, like you're warring and like taking territory. And he's like, and then after that is the king years. And that's when you're managing like this thing that you had amassed. And then after that is your sage years, which he would argue is a return to your lover years, but then mentoring other people in how to love God. Isn't that awesome?
It is awesome.
And I remember being like, oh, I'm not ready to be a king. Like, I'm not, does that make sense? Like, I'm not ready to just manage what I've made. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I remembered like feeling that distinctly. Like, I would prefer to still take territory. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But now that I know that about myself, I think if and when that time comes for Jon and I, like we're wiser about it to know when to transition into your king stage where you're like managing, you're overseeing. Because some people, when they don't transition well, then they just keep warring and taking territory and trying to build, when it's like, oh, you should be managing now. And you should, does that make sense? Like if you don't properly transition those seasons. So, but I think I wasn't ready for that yet. I wanted to still build things.
Yeah.
And then build them with Jon, so.
Well, and I didn't care about that because you guys weren't, I mean, we all know, like when you're in ministry,
yeah,
the whole family's in ministry.
That's right.
Which we experienced too.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously some of the audience would be single people looking to do that. Like, what did it mean to have that support, that person? And how did that go, starting to work together?
Yeah. I think that was probably one of the bigger growth parts for us, because when you have one of us vocationally full-time in ministry, one of us not, like she was able to run her ministry exactly the way she would want. So for the single person in this kind of regard, before you get married, you have your budget, you can make your own decisions. If you have a budget, single person. Maybe that's a future podcast. Yes. But like you're making your own decisions, leadership decisions, how you self-lead, whatever you decide to do with your life. But then when you bring somebody else into that picture and in a marriage setting, two are becoming one, and you're making life decisions together. So we had gone from kind of two different spheres of existence as it relates to like our careers and things like that. To now we're doing it together. And she's been doing it for 10 plus years at this point. In that setting, I come in and I'm fresh out of the private sector. So there was some push and pull and
sure.
like And then, I'm kind of green to it, and
we'd be like filming videos and
arguing.
Oh my gosh. Like I remember our first couple of videos, I was just like, what are we doing right now? Because like they like our guy would be like, our creatives would be like, let's go. And like, we'd start and I was just like, I don't even know what we're doing. What are we doing? Yeah. And it just took time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it really, what was cool about that was we began to, I think it took our relationship to new levels because we began to, she had to let me lead in areas that she hadn't let me lead before in that setting, because she had always been in ministry or had been for a lengthy period of time. So now we come together and then I would, I'm feeling at certain times I'd feel a little insecure in this area and wanting to let her, well, I guess you could just run this thing. But then there's times where it's like, I should be running, and so it was a push and pull, and
for sure,
having grace for each other.
For sure.
And I'll say this, like us both supporting each other, encouraging each other, coming together, we're so much stronger. So even in those bumps, even in those rough edges, like we learned from that when we are stronger, when we are together, when we're championing each other, cheering each other on, like it's really good.
It's almost like you're really yoked.
Yes. I love it. I love your podcast name. I think it's so crazy. I do feel like,
but that's the like rubber meets the road. This is like the rubber meets the road, where it's not just you say that you're going to be each other's best friend and fan and cheer each other on, because this is like, you have that friction.
No. I mean, I think that there's like, I was thinking about it on the drive over here. I was like, there's been areas of our marriage that, so for example, like that were really easy for us to like do together. So like when it came to flipping houses, like, which Travis and Ingrid like mentored us, taught us how to flip houses, helped us to understand how to flip our very first house. And when we came to do that, and maybe it was because we were both green in it, but when we like our relationship, we like understood what one another was good at and very succinctly and easily moved into those roles. And then like I was like, I'd find the properties, like was in charge of kind of like money and budget over, and then Jon was like kind of like GCing those projects. And it was like and I remember there was like with that first flip, I was like, I think we're kind of good at this. And it was like kind of surprising. Like I was like, that was wild, and I think, but with the church, and I don't know why it is, but it's taken more time to like massage into those places. And I don't think either one's like wrong or better or worse. It's like, I wonder if like people listening, like in their marriage, like there's some areas that are so easy to do together. And then there's some areas where it's like, this is taking a lot more work, but both are really wonderful and fruitful,
Yeah, there's a lot of growth there.
Oh, for sure.
We
are
very difficult to probably be married to. Right?
But good.
Like 1,000 ideas, only gonna pursue one a week, maybe. Yeah. And then quit. Like, And Travis is a lot more of the visionary.
Of the two of you?
So, I'm describing some of
and I'm like, where are you going with this?
But truly support system.
Yeah.
Question,
Yeah.
For her to move.
Sure.
Yeah.
All ends of the spectrum as well. Like, how do you turn up the voices that you need to hear and turn down the ones that you don't?
That's a great question.
I mean, I think, I really think that in those moments you have to know what God said, because it's just so tough to, I mean, I can't remember people being naysayers. Well, maybe there was a couple. I think that we felt probably the pressure because we came from such a big church, like we had something to prove. And I think like you can make a big decision and feel like you have something to prove to everybody that you've been telling, right? But I think if you know what God said, then you can rest your hat there. And at the end of the day, that's what he said. And so, but I'm trying to remember. I don't remember.
Whenever we ask, I'll share this, like whenever we ask somebody to join team or like be involved, especially early on, because you're basically cold calling at this point. Like, hey, can we take you to coffee? We want to talk to you. And where we always, and we still kind of use this in our culture at our church today, is we would love for you to be a part of this with us, catch the vision that we have. But we don't want you to be a part of it if you're just here because of Jesse and JD. And you just think we're great, because 2 months, 3 months, a year from now, you're going to discover that we don't satisfy the same way that God does. So we're not going to fulfill your deepest needs. We're not going to, make everything perfect, the perfect church that you're looking for. And so we would just ask them, we want you to spend time praying for the next couple of weeks. And if you hear from God and he says yes to you, follow his voice, because the God ask is always the best. Not the JD or Jesse ask. And so there was from that side of it. And so we had to, I think, to go with that, we walked into this knowing God had said to go. It was time to leave, and I have a new chapter for your life. And we don't know all the specifics, but we were we're sensing from the Lord that it's to start a church. So we had peace in that way. And so anyone we would share it with, some people might be like, well, that sounds stupid. You're going to leave a good situation to go do that. And they might say it nice.
I had one guy approach me at a Nuggets game, and he's like, is that working out for you? Just so rude. And I was like, and I think they meant it best intention, but I was like, it's hard, but it's also, so you have to know.
Hearing God's voice,
we're just trying to obey
really what
him.
We're trying to say that's your first and foremost. And then as you begin to share with people, you have to grant them grace and mercy, and just be okay. Some of them will say dumb things that may not be intentional. It's just maybe they're sad, or maybe they're confused, or maybe they're sitting in some of their own insecurity. They would never do that. So then they want to project on you.
So true.
But I think, I do think, we would ask the people that whose voices we trust a lot,
like our mentors.
Those people, when they would respond, meant a lot to us. And we had really fleshed that out for a season to be like, hey, is this a dumb move? Is there a blind spot maybe I'm missing that you need, so we would talk to people that could speak into our situation. And no one was like, no, I don't see a blind spot. Are you hearing from God? Is this, what is he saying to you? It was always going back to that.
And I think too, I remembered we just had almost like mothers and fathers of the faith. We had such good mentors, and God brought quickly, as we were exiting Red Rocks, people that oversaw us. It was wild. We had so many big brothers in the faith and big sisters in the faith, really almost immediately, that we trusted, and that were so godly, and led other churches and stuff like that. And so we relied on that counsel so much, and so I don't know if that's helpful necessarily to your question. I feel like, but to what Jon said, I think sometimes people don't mean to. It's their own fears and insecurities sometimes that are coming out. But I think, and honestly, when we stepped out, it did, and sometimes does, probably still look foolish to a lot of people, right? And it's well, I'm not going to change anybody's mind that way. So I have to know that it's the Lord, and then just keep going.
Yeah. I think it's that whole idea of do you do things for the applause of heaven and God, or do you do them for the applause of man?
Yeah.
And there's going to be people whoever's hearing this that are going to tell you you're dumb for doing what you're going to do. That's too risky. You should never do that. And they're going to come against you. Those words are going to come against you. And to just remember, man, if God's speaking to you, or you just know in your heart of hearts that this is the risk that you need to take, and mom and dad think it's dumb, or siblings are why you're so foolish, and and it's kind of okay, let that roll off, and just be okay to say, okay, that's your opinion, and in your heart you're your opinion doesn't matter as much as God's opinion in this situation. And I mean, we had some moments with some people that were,
I'm trying to remember, but I think it was good.
Well, I love that you guys had counsel, because we talk about that a lot of whatever it is, the thing is of seeking somebody that's ahead of you that you trust,
Yes.
and you respect their opinion and lean on them.
Yep.
And you don't you can do it alone with counsel.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do it just solo and like, well, we're going to go figure it out. It's like you surround yourself with people that you did want their advice and their opinion, and because they've been there before.
No, real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in the real estate sector. That's you guys for us. I feel like I mean, there's so many proverbs about wisdom and the company you keep and the people in your world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and basically to summarize all those proverbs, it's like, if you just get around people that are wise, like you're going to be wise. Like that's literally like what they're trying to say to us, is what God's trying to say to us, is just get around. Like you don't even have to be super smart, but just like get around people that are smart.
I would go so
you're
far.
Like, you're going to be fine.
I would go so far as to say this, like, if you're looking to take a risk, don't go talk to people who don't take risks.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, real.
Amen.
Like, so if that's Uncle Bob or whoever it is, who's like never taken a risk in their life,
that's so true.
They buy a lottery ticket and think that that's their eventually that's going to be how they have a future. And it's kind of like, don't talk to them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell you stuff.
Right.
It's like, don't do it.
Yeah. You have to talk to the people that
go to the people who are like, I've seen it. I've done it.
Yeah.
You can do it too. You don't need to be afraid of this.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a risk,
Absolutely.
but yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. I mean, and you guard your heart. And you only let people in that you trust them, to your point.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't ask a broke person for financial advice.
Right.
At least I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, get another credit card. I don't know.
0%, baby.
Yeah.
So funny.
All right, let's keep going.
Yep.
All right, babe, what do you want to ask next? Because this is going good. I want to go back to your marriage a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this... I know they did.
No, we're good.
Did we?
No,
did? No,
I mean, you're in a partnership now. So you're married, but working separately. And you hit on it, John, that it wasn't all just rainbows. There was some difficult things. But I want to hear more about like how you overcame, like even an example, like an advice for somebody they're getting ready to partner. And because we went through that whenever I quit the church as well and came, and I had this grand romantic ideas of like, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be, and I'm like, let's just go hang out and work. And she was like a quick, like, what are you doing? Like, this is not what I do.
Was Ingrid already in real estate?
Yes.
That's how it worked. Okay. Got it.
But she wasn't full-time agent. She was full-time managing the team.
Oh.
And so I couldn't just steal her away from her job. She had a real job.
Is stepping into like, schedules
it was very different work.
It came with a lot of balance between us because
I
only knew that. And I'm like, what do you do all day? You like shoot hoops? And he's like, yeah.
Like,
gosh.
Literally. Come on.
I forgot about that spike ball.
Spike ball.
Jeez. Too funny. I mean, I honestly think though, there were some pretty difficult moments, like, especially like early on, because we just had stresses that didn't have to do with the church even, right? With like COVID and we had a new
Well, that's what I mean. You blended it all together.
Yes.
That's what's so unique is that some people don't actually get that. Yeah. You're working full time
and a church baby.
four kiddos. But then it's like you have to figure out this new rhythm and this new partnership that's your business owners.
I still think we're like finding our way. I like even this year, like we've arranged the leadership of our church differently than we did in the beginning. And I still feel like we say a lot, it's dough that we're needing.
Yeah.
So we say that with our sermons. Like we'll be like halfway through the week and I'll be like, how is it, babe? And he'll be like, I'm needing the dough. Like, it's just like, it's like you're there, you've got it, but it's like, it's not there yet. Yeah. Like you're still kind of, and I think with our church partnership, wouldn't you say that's true?
Yeah. I mean, there's, new levels of growth. And, and as you grow, you change and you have to navigate new hurdles and all of that. I would say, so to the marriage question, just as like the backdrop, we had secured our marriage prior to ever starting
John and I,
that. And I think for us, we're each other's best friends.
Yeah.
We're the safe place.
Yeah.
Like, and we had to really prioritize for us that our marriage came first before
the church.
That's a good point.
You know? So your marriage was in a great spot.
Yes.
Prior to you.
Oh yeah.
Launching this thing.
Yeah. I would think our marriage is like the strength of our marriage is oftentimes the strength of our church. Cause I think we do have a strong marriage. And so like, so we would like brawl about stuff about the church, like real talk. Like we would be like, you know, he'd be like, you know, like, let me lead this part. And it was so hard because I had historically led it all by myself. And so I had like letting my hands off of stuff and trusting him is really important. And you know, but I also think, so my mom and dad, you know, we had an example again, like, cause my mom and dad had a excavating company. My dad was the president. My mom was the VP. My mom like ran the company. My dad like found the jobs and like big company, like 80 plus employees. And I watched them my whole life be married, have a respectful marriage. Honestly, sometimes even more respectful than Jon and I's, loving, great parents, and then like crushed a company. And so to us, it was like, you know, I think for some people it seemed really wacky to like work with your spouse, but for us, it didn't seem too far out there. Right. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a transition because, you know, typically if you both work in two different spheres, you get to kind of come back to your marriage each day and be like each other's fan, you know, and be like, oh yeah. And I get like, you can hear what the other person's experiencing.
Yeah. And you can be
but
like,
it's unaffected to you. So you're just 100%. There to be a part of it with them and support them.
Like you can be like, versa. Yeah, boo that coworker. You know what I mean? But then once it's like, that's right. But then you're my coworker.
And you're like, I was there with you. I know what happened.
And then you view that situation differently.
So true.
And so then you have to walk that out together, which I would say has made us closer.
Yes.
Our marriage better. I love being in that type of a partnership beyond just marriage. And I think it's a strength of ours.
I agree. It's really hard and really, really good. So would be
like a balancing tip for parenting too.
Oh yeah. You guys are so good at that.
Though, but you guys are great at it. Like even with flips, like, I mean, my kids are with me a lot.
Yeah.
Mel kids are with you a lot.
Yeah.
You know, Tess when she stages.
That's right. She brings her kids.
It's like all of us that are doing
That's
this
right.
entrepreneurial soulpreneur. Like I'm sure your kids are often at One City Church with you guys. Like,
yes.
You're like, I'm gonna haul you around the city to Flips and Home Depot.
Yeah.
And you're welcome.
And our kids are here in the office.
Yeah, they're right around.
They're here today.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I love you guys. I love you guys. Oh my gosh.
I think we've always viewed it as, you know, everything we do is to some degree our family does it together, and that's not a bad thing. Yeah, that's actually I think there has to be balance, you know, to some degree.
Yeah,
but I think culturally, maybe like our generations growing up, it was like a parent or both parents left and went to a job, and then they came back, and I'm like, I love getting to do everything with our kids. You know, Houston was born, our youngest was born in COVID. He was one of the three that he was with us all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas with our first two, we went right back to work.
Yeah.
You know,
they were in daycare.
I had 1 week with them, and then you had maybe like 8 weeks, and then it was like straight to a nanny or to a daycare, you know, and I get it, you know, that's for productivity. You know, you want to do a good job at your job and all these sorts of things. But I think if you're able to have a scenario where you bring your kids, like, I think you're teaching them something very valuable.
Our kids, our kids love the church sometimes more than we do. I mean, there was a day where I was having a tough day and I was like, I was kind of done with church, and not kind of, I was like real done with church. And I was crying in the car, just getting real.
And this is normal for pastors. This is a normal thing.
And Brooklyn was sitting right here next to me, and I was dropping her off at a birthday party. And she was like, Mom, she's like, God loves our church. And I love our church. And you just need to believe, because you know what? God's got good plan. Like, I just was like, and that was so sincere for her. And so it was like, it's like, like they love our church legit sometimes more than we do. And they're with us a lot. I mean, they were with us till real late on Sunday, and it's Memorial Day, and we've got plans to get to, but we had a lot going on, and they put up with a lot. Like, I'm just so proud of them. But then they also, like, I think they benefit a lot, and they loved being part of our flips. Like, they really do love. I mean, there's sometimes they get sick of it, of course, but like in general, like, I mean, the cool thing about that last one was there was a trampoline, you know, and so I don't know, like, I think that it's fun to get to bring them along. And the way that we balance it, though, honestly, is like when we do checkout with our family, like we're gone, like we're off the grid. And
that's cool.
I observe
you guys do that too.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like with pastoring, especially, like when we leave, like we're going to leave in a couple of days. And like, honestly, unapologetically, we are leaving, and I my heart has to check out, like everything has to check out, because my family deserves that. The kids of entrepreneurs, I think they sacrifice a little bit more, you know, and so it's like they deserve this time where like we're just together. And some of our favorite times, I'm talking a lot, I'm so sorry, but some of our favorite times are like You're that's why we love going to Scottsdale. Like we go to Scottsdale with our kids, and we don't even really do that much. Like we're just by the pool, and
you're just off
experiences.
That's all. And literally it's just us five, and it's great.
And we're, I mean, that's where you just prioritize.
Yeah.
You know, Jess has done a really good job of, you know, dinner time is a big deal for us.
Yeah. That's
every night.
Yeah.
And, you know, we turn off phones and we separate ourselves from the world, because sometimes we're getting calls and this emergency and that emergency. Because as a pastor, you know, there's parts of you that are on call all the time. Yeah. And you have to be okay to say no to that and be like, no, my family deserves all of me right now.
Yeah.
And so there are those moments where we make those choices, especially on
dinner
trips
time's
and
a big
vacations.
one.
And dinner time is like that once a day check-in.
We're still trying. I think it's hard too, because like as pastors, and people don't think about this much, but like Saturdays and Sundays, you really are like kind of your head's in the game. And Saturday, that's your weekend with your kids. And so even more so, that's like when we take off, like we're just like, bye, Felicia. Like we don't, you have to, like, we just had a friend who planted a church 6 months ago. Yeah. And he's like, did you guys leave the church like your first year? And like, we sure did. We left because you have to, like, your family, you must.
Yeah. I think for entrepreneurs or people that are giving a lot of their life to starting something, so the risk is more, there's more work, but the reward is greater, right? You still have to make a decision to walk away at different times and turn it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you don't, like, it will catch up.
Yeah.
It will catch up with you. We've learned that, I think, coaches, people looking into our lives, you know, to be like, if you grind at that pace, you know, you're gonna, some part of your life will suffer somewhere.
Yeah.
And I would just say, don't let it be your family.
Yeah.
You know,
that's so true.
So give your time, like, give them your time. When you're working, when they're in, when you have time with them, and then it's just good communication. Back to, you bring your kids with you to these things. It's just like, you know, sometimes our kids would get upset about going to a flip, and we'd be like, well, let's tell you why this is important. You know, we're flipping this house because this is a way for us to make some extra money so that we can go on that trip, so that mom and dad can maybe retire one day, you know, like, so that we can buy you clothes for school, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
Just giving a purpose behind it. And then we try to make it fun. So like if we buy them something like food on the way, or it was cool. It was cool to have the trampoline at the last one.
That was so good.
But
Quick Trip has been my new.
What's Quick Trip?
Oh, it's the best gas station ever.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
And the kids love it. Oh, it's so great. She gets so mad because I'm like, you guys want Quick Trip? Let's go. It's like my reward for everything. I'm like, Quick Trip?
And you're like,
is there water and milk and slushy?
Quick Trip. We go to Quick Trip.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my gosh, y'all are so fun though. But that's so funny. I
It's
bet
only
they love
$5
that.
for everything. It's great.
Come on. Yeah. Oh yeah. So good.
Yeah. Quick Trip podcast sponsor. Right?
Yeah, sponsored by Quick Trip. Hey,
honestly, ask.
I'm gonna tag them. I love it. I posted about them on social. I'm like, they're from like back in Oklahoma, and
serious?
They're here now, and I love it.
That's so cool.
Honestly, I'm keeping my eye out now.
All right, bring us some.
Yeah, bring us some.
All right. So
this is fun.
A couple more questions to bring us home. Last question, as far as the interview goes.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing in a couple years? Like, what is the goal? What's the goal for the church?
Your phase.
It's such a good question. It was like a really fun question to think about today. You go, Ben.
Yeah. I would say for us currently, we're in a discerning season right now. Yeah. Like, cause we just moved the church to a new location. Yeah. And I do think that that's healthy for entrepreneurs to pray, people who have started their own thing, especially believers, what's the next thing that God has for us? I think we typically try to look in 1 year chunks. So it's hard to look 3 years out.
3's fun though.
3's
if
fun.
you were to say 3, what would you say?
I think, it'd be great if we had, a flip a year. It'd be nice.
We would love that.
If the flip market would get better.
At least one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, so it was 2 Octobers ago, God told Jon and I to write a marriage book. And so we've been working on that. And it's been really cool. We hopefully have a really great publisher in Texas that we're working with, and like that's been really neat. And so like it would be super cool 3 years from now to have, there's 2 books like that we have in our mind's eye. So one of them is for marriages, and then one of them is for like marriages kind of on the brink of like destruction and bringing them back to health. So like that's a dream, is like those being done. We would love it if our church was 5,000, 12,000 people. I think that would be dreamy. It would be great to have a flip a year. It would be, I think, it would be awesome for 3 years from now to have like the flywheel moment where like a lot of the momentum that you've been pushing for is like self-activated. Yeah. So, but it's okay if it's not, but that would be dreamy. I don't know. I think that would
be very dreamy. I think, for us right now, we carry a lot of weight and burden ourselves. Just at the pace of growth that our church is at. Mm-hmm. But I think we're primed for growth right now.
I think so too.
And, God just has to bless it.
That's right.
To the next level.
Right.
And so,
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I asked that knowing, like, obviously having been in ministry for 10 years myself, like I fully understand that it's a weird, in the church lens only, it's a weird question, I think, to answer.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people in like the stewardship arena, like people talk about like growth, and it feels self-serving, be like, I need more people.
Yeah.
When that is the goal, but it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's like for the church. And so I get it.
We want our impact to be more than it has been.
Right.
Yeah.
To say like, wow, we're actually accomplishing something. We're actually doing something.
Right.
And so that would matter. 3 years from now, Brooklyn will be starting high school. Like that's wild.
That's wild.
That's our oldest.
She's amazing.
And, so our kids matter a ton to us right now, and that they, have an incredible childhood.
Yeah. I think though, like we love circle makers and like praying like big audacious prayers. And I think, that our church would be in a space of like
Mark Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A space of, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
A space of growth and a space of, I think that would be awesome. Getting a flip a year. And those books, man, we really do feel called. We feel called to like marriages. That's been something new that the Lord's kind of brought up in the last couple of years. I just think we've seen a lot of struggle in marriages, and a lot. And even though our church is, a smaller church, like the percentage is high of people that just need support, need care.
Yeah.
So
people come to us and ask for advice and how to navigate situations. And so that's an area that God's wanting us to oversee. And so we take that very seriously. And
can't wait to read the book.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Last 2 questions. So we ask every single time. First one, where can people find you and connect with you? Whether it's website, social, whatever.
You can find us at onecitychurch.com. That's our church site. And then you can find Jon on Instagram at jondavis.co. You can find me at jessiedavis.co. Our church is onecitychurch.co. and then we have a small flipping Instagram, and it's redeeming_homes.
Underscore.
Cool. We'll tag all those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
It's hard. Well, it's because I wrote it to you guys this morning. I think I was like, all right, now I got it.
I'll definitely I'll put them in there.
Memory.
Okay. Last question. This is the Yoked Podcast. We talk about all things, real estate, business, and purpose, and how it aligns.
Amen.
So today, what would you say you guys are yoked to?
I love that. Like, what are we like?
We're with it
committed.
More together.
Oh man, I mean, our whole life.
Yeah. We're honestly yoked in every way, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's. I think we're like, yeah. We pull the weight together in everything.
Yeah.
To each other.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that you guys are yoked to each other.
Church, business, we're business partners.
Yeah.
More importantly, we're married. We're one.
Yeah.
Why'd you make that face?
No, I was trying. I was trying to think about like something particular, but I was like, it's kind of everything. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that we answered
like
that
a
right.
specific one for right now.
Okay.
I would say right now we're planning on going out of town. And that's going to be something
yoked.
We're going to make a big deal about, having an experience, being out of town, being away from our church, being with our kids, making memories that they'll talk about, years and years and years from now.
Mm-hmm.
That's like right now on the front of our mind, I would say.
Yeah. And then when we get back, it's like hit the ground running because we've got all of these summer things.
And we're
happening.
Already putting everything in order for that. So
it's going to be good.
I love it. So. That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thanks
fun.
for having us.
I'll let you wrap us up, babe.
We love you, Halls.
I'm at the Travis Hall.
Episode each week.
Yep. See you next week.
Woohoo.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Yoked Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along as we drop a new episode each week.